Hello everyone, Creative Fun here again with another video in DCS world, and as you can see I'm sitting in not the Mirage 2000 and not even the MiG-21, while everyone else is out enjoying the F5E Tiger II from Belgium Tech. I am sitting here in literally the oldest DCS module ever. It's the KA-50 Black Shark II. So I'm going to jump out here and just talk a little bit very quickly about the Black Shark 2, what it is and what makes it special, at least in my opinion. First of all, as you can see, for a helicopter, it has some rather strange design features. It has what is called a coaxial rotor blade. It means basically two rotor blades on top of each other spinning in different directions compared to normally where you have a rotor blade in the back here, keeping the aircraft nice and straight. So that's the first strange thing about this aircraft. Now, this is not uncommon in the Russian military. There are several models, I believe, that has the coaxial rotor. And to be honest, I don't really know what the advantage is over the regular type of helicopter design with a rotor in the back here. But from what I can tell, it functions pretty much just like any other helicopter in terms of hovering and landing and so on. Second, and this is very unique, not just in DC as well, but for attack helicopters overall. This is a single seat attack helicopter. As you can see, there's just one pilot. There's no pilot behind this guy and so on. And this is unique in DCS. If you look generally in DCS, you have the Huey, the Gazelle, and the Mi-8, which are the other main helicopters available as modules. And remember, please, that this is the first module in DCS. So this is not just the first helicopter, but this is the original DCS module, Black Shark 2. One problem, as I was looking for a helicopter to fly, all of these helicopters require multi-crew, generally speaking, and more often than not, you're the one that has to switch between different seats, especially in the Mi-8 and the Gazelle, where you cannot operate the weapon systems from the pilot seat. Now, there's a very good reason why helicopters in general, even modern helicopters, if you look at the Apache helicopters, are designed with multi-crew, at least one pilot and one gunner, is because it is insanely difficult to pilot a helicopter and at the same time engage in combat operations. Usually the weapon systems are very complicated, just as with any other modern fighter aircraft. But on the other hand, when you fly a helicopter, the amount of small adjustments you need to make continuously just to keep the helicopter level and fly it means that you need to focus more on flying the helicopter or flying the aircraft more than if you're flying a fixed-wing aircraft. Surprisingly, Russians leave it to the Russians to design a helicopter that actually can do all this with just one pilot. And how they're able to manage this is also one of the reasons why I think the Black Shark 2 is a great alternative for those who are just starting out wanting to learn a helicopter. The Black Shark 2 has a very advanced autopilot and AI system that kind of helps you. In essence, the autopilot system could literally fly almost the mission by itself while you engage the targets. Now, it doesn't really work like that in practice, but in theory, the systems are there to handle the maneuvering of the helicopter. And the autopilot system works so that it has a certain amount of control authority over what you're doing, very similar to a fly-by-wire system, like you can see in the F-15 and the Mirage, for example. Okay, let's take a closer look at the armament this helicopter is carrying. I have the standard outfit for the ornament for the Black Shark. You can carry a wide range of weaponries, but let's look at the standard equipment here. First, we have on the outer rim here, we have the guided missiles, which you use your targeting camera, which you can see right here. It's the targeting camera under the nose to lock on, and these are guided missiles that have a decent amount of range. And on the inboard pylons, we have rockets, and quite a lot of them too. And on the right side of the helicopter, we actually have a cannon, a stabilized cannon. Of course, this limits the firing arc of this helicopter because you can only fire from the right side. But the plus is that it's a very big and very powerful cannon that can carry armor-piercing shell, which means that you can actually take on tanks with this. I wouldn't recommend it, but it can engage armored vehicles. And it also has another type of shell for soft target, like unarmored vehicles and troops. On the other pylons here, you can see we have I think it's the shaft and flare. And if we look behind here, we can see we have some indents for the wheels, which means you can actually fold the wheels sort of inside the helicopter. There's no hatches for the back wheels here, but it makes it a little bit more aerodynamical, and that in turn means you can get quite a bit of speed in this helicopter. You can actually cruise up to about 300 kph without any problems. So that's the outboard, or rather the outside of the helicopter, a little bit what you can do. Before we jump into the cockpit, I also want to mention this can carry other different type of weapon systems, both bombs. You can actually drop bombs with this helicopter. It also can carry additional gun pods, which well, makes it even better at engaging soft targets like troops and unarmored vehicles. So that's that. I believe also it can carry a sort of more heavier type of rockets as well for armor bunker penetration and so on. But let's get this baby started. Let's do the startup tutorial. So first I'm going to use the right control and C to just close the door here, because it's going to get a little bit noisy if we start the helicopter with the door open. Now there are two ways to start this helicopter. The first one is using external power to speed things up a little bit, but we're going to forego that. There are tutorials both on YouTube and in the manual that will explain how you do that. But let's do the standard non-external power startup so we don't have to communicate with the ground crew. Now first I will look around here. We have to turn on the battery so we have some battery power in the helicopter. So we're going to do that. You're going to hear a bit of buzzing sound. We're going to close the hatches too, since we don't want to accidentally touch these. The second one, we just follow the line here. We go and start the forward and aft fuel pump. And this helicopter can carry external fuels as well, and you can enable the pumps for those there. And this is for the inner and outer pylons, I assume. I haven't tried this actually to carry external fuel. This helicopter can stay in there for quite some time, even without the external fuel. We're also going to turn on the fuel quantity and just double check so that works. I know checking for the system works is not actually really necessary in a simulator like this, but it's just a part of my startup procedure. And now when we have some power, we're going to start up the APU. So we're going to go to fuel shut-off valve, and we're just going to turn on the APU. We're going to leave it like that. And we're also going to turn on the fire extinguisher. Might be good to have if the APU blows up. Unlikely, but always a good procedure to turn the fire extinguisher on as soon as possible. Once that is done, the aircraft is ready. We're really ready to start the APU. So we're going to do that. You can see here that the APU valve open is lighting up there. So then go in here. I'm going to actually zoom in so it's easier for you guys to see. But right here we have the start panel. Nicely pushed start. There is three things you want to start in this aircraft. It's the APU, the left engine, and right engine, and you select them with this switch here. So we're going to select the APU. It should be default on the APU, and we just press start. And then we zoom out a little bit here. And we hear this APU start up, and we're going to zoom in on this little bit here. And the APU is on. And as soon as it's stabilized around 600 degrees Celsius, we are ready to proceed to the next stage of the startup. Now, there are a couple of different ways to doing this, and I think that the order is not too important actually, as long as the systems are turned on. But usually I turn on the radio systems, the VHF systems here. I turn on the standby SAI. I turn on navigation. I turn on this little beacon here that starts warning that we're going to soon turn on the engine. Of course, this is not necessary in a simulator either, but it's a good way to have a good thing to have in the startup procedure, I think. We're also going to turn on the National Navigation Unit and the heater for that, warm up the laser systems, and turn on the Ekran warning system and close this hatch here. So while that is done, we get a little warning light here. I'm going to press the button here. Don't be alarmed. It's just telling us that we're not completed with the startup procedure. We have a little bit of information here in the upper panel. The HUD is not ready, for example. We're just going to ignore that for now and continue with our startup procedure. When these basic systems are online, we are going to start the engine. And doing that is fairly simple procedure too. we choose the fuel shutoff valve for the left engine. Always left engine first, then right engine. Select the EEG, left engine. Move over here. And that's a standard warning signal. Don't be alarmed again. It's normal. We are gonna, let's see here. We are going to push this, which is the rotor brake. So the rotor can move freely. We're gonna open the fuel valve for the left engine rotor. And then we're going to go down back to our startup panel here, and we are going to switch this little knob here to left engine and press start. You don't have to hold in the start button, one press is okay. And then we're going to focus on the RPM meter to the right here. And as you can see, engine number 1 is now spooling up, and it should stabilize around 6, so I guess it's 6,000 RPMs. And in the upper dial here, we have also the temperature for the engine. Now, I'm not quite sure where the safe temperatures are, but I'm sure you can look it up in the very extensive manual that is available for this aircraft to figure out whether these numbers are safe or not. For now, I'm just going to hope that this helicopter doesn't blow up on me. It should be fine. As once the first engine is spooled up, see here it's stabilized around 7,000 RPM actually, my bad. We are going to move over and turn on the right engine. There. And the shutoff valve for the right engine. And if you look up here now, you can see the rotor blades are spinning. And then we're going to switch the right engine there and press start. And we should have the dial for the second engine coming up online there. Good. As that is happening, I am going to unhook this one and adjust it, as well as adjusting this one. Great. And as you can see, our HUD is up and running. That's great. We're also going to turn on the pitot heat, standard. So we have that turned on. It's just a good thing to keep it. Usually you don't need it in this warm weather, but it's never wrong to have this turned on. There, and it's stabilizing around 7,000 RPM. That's great. I don't know if that's 7,700 or whatever, but 7 at least there. Once the engines are spooled up, we can add the AC power, and we should be fine on that account. And now it's time for us to actually turn off the APU, because that's no longer needed. So I'm going to press the APU shutoff button here. There's a special button for that. Just push that, and everything should immediately become quieter. I'm also going to turn off the fuel valve for the APU and turn down these little knobs now that we have a successful engine start. I'm also going to turn on the ABRIS navigation system, starting that out. You can probably do that earlier as long as you have APU power, so it doesn't really matter. And we're also going to turn on some of the navigation systems here. National Navigation System, and we are also going to put that in operational. And we're going to put this, this is the data link system. And if you're using data link, it's good that you press this into commander, because you're probably going to be the commander. We're also going to turn on the radio systems for the data link, and I think that's done there. We are going to turn on the ejection seat. Also good to have turned on. And if you're doing a combat mission, I suggest also turning on the power for the weapon systems. This is the switch for enabling the weapon systems, but that doesn't mean that the weapon systems are armed. You do it on this switch here. So the weapon system is not armed, but it's enabled. We're going to turn on the IFF. And let's see, that is pretty much it. These switches here are lightning switches, so if you need some external or internal lights, these are the switches you should flick. I am going to leave you to experiment with these. And we're also going to turn on the autopilot systems. There. Now you have 4 different autopilot systems: pitch hold, bank hold, heading hold, and altitude hold. And what these do, this assist you in holding the course. We're also going to turn on the flight director autopilot. This is the one that basically helps you keep the aircraft stable without doing too much work. So instead of you doing small adjustments to keep the aircraft stable continuously, this one will help you tremendously with this. we're not going to turn on the altitude hold because we're going to take off, and we don't want the autopilot trying to hold the altitude we are on, because that's counterproductive when we're actually trying to take off and change our altitude. Now, I'm not going to talk much about the navigation system, but I will mention them. There are two navigation systems in the KA-50. One of them is this, I think it's called the Abris navigation system. And if we press nav here, we can see a moving map with a lot of information. And this uses the GNSS, I think, which is the Russian Global Positioning System, and just like the GPS. And then we have the Inertial Navigation Unit, which is this system here. As far as I know, these two are not connected between each other. So while you can load a flight pan will be loaded into this and this system. They're not connected between each other. So if you're searching for or adding a new flight path here, if you want to add it into this navigation system here, you're going to have to manually transfer the numbers. I might do a tutorial on that at some point. Please leave a comment below if you want me to do a tutorial on the navigation system in the KA-50. But anyway, from what I can tell, the weapon systems is connected to the Abris navigation system, whereas the Autopilot is connected to the Inertial Navigation System. So if I'm wrong here, please correct me, but I think that's how it works. Anyway, the helicopter is started up completely. We can do a few more things before we take off. One of those would be to turn on the laser systems and the weapon systems here. So we can turn on this one, which is the targeting navigation system, and we can turn on the laser targeting system there. So that's good. And let's see here. I'm just going to do a quick check, make sure that we've done everything correctly. Always good to do a quick check. It's a lot of buttons to remember. Everything looks good. I have not turned on the counter measuring system because I think I've forgotten how to turn this on actually. Maybe these ones. We are basically ready for takeoff. There's a couple of things we need to do first. Number one, make sure you have on your joystick set the trimmer button. When we take off, to avoid the aircraft just flying us backwards and putting us on our ass, we're going to move our joystick a little bit forward, press the trimmer, and release the joystick. So now we're trimmed a little bit forward. That's very helpful. And also we are going to gear up. I'm not quite sure what this does, but I know that we have to move these two levers up to what I think is a full power system. Anyway, at least we need to move these two levers, but we cannot move them inside the cockpit by clicking at them, so you have to have a button or a joystick command for these. But we're going to move them up like this. We're going to get a small warning system, or warning signal, and the squall will come on because I think we have more power, or it's takeoff ready or flight ready. I think these are called the throttles actually. As I said, I'm quite new on the Black Shark 2, and I'm still learning. It's still a learning process for me. But anyway, the aircraft is fully capable of taking off right now, and we could turn off the warning beacon here. And I'm just going to show you how to take off. It's probably going to be a little bit shaky because I'm still very new with this, but hopefully we can do a stable takeoff, and I'll end the video right there. So what you do basically, the cyclic stick, the one here, we move it not too fast, not too slow, upwards until the helicopter takes off. And as it takes off, be prepared to move your stick forward or backward or wherever you need to move it to keep the aircraft stable. And as you can see now, the autopilot system is helping us a lot to keeping this aircraft stable. Once you have reached a safe takeoff altitude for moving forward, you move the stick a little bit forward, and the aircraft will start accelerating forward. As you're doing this, we can turn in the gears, and off we go. So it's not more difficult than that to getting the aircraft up and ready to fly. And now it's just a matter of practicing, practicing, and practicing. So if this tutorial was interesting to you, or you enjoyed this, please leave a like and a comment below, and I'll be happy to do more tutorials about navigation, maneuvering, and even weapons management. It's a good opportunity for me to perfect and train my own skills. That's why I enjoy doing these tutorials. I had great fun and learned a lot doing the Mirage tutorials, I can tell you. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.